Hey guys, you're watching Vol, another bat rep, another game of infiNity. It's another game of Hunting Party, the same mission that we played last week and that I reported on last week. There's been a lot of talk about this mission in our local group. We are playing a tournament in April that features this mission, so we wanted to understand it better and get a bit of playtime with it so that we could inform our opinions a bit better. This time I'll be playing a rare game with my Aleph, and we're talking vanilla Aleph, not the Greek phalanx, as a lot of people use, against my regular opponent with JSA. So we'll get into it. Here is the table, and I'll just indicate what's going on here. So I've managed to win the role for the lieutenant face-to-face. I've chosen immediately to go for turn order and take second turn, just because I feel that's a much more reliable way of winning the scenario than any other lieutenant choice, given the way that I play especially. Now, I'm on the left here, so there's a deployment zone roughly along this line here, so I'll put A for Aleph here, and the Yucheng is going to be setting up around about along here, and this will be their deployment zone. I'll put JSA here. Just by the way, guys, in fact, I better move my head out of the photographs so you guys can see what's going on. So as I just indicated here, we've got Aleph on the left-hand side here with this deployment zone here, and the JSA along here. Look, today in New Zealand, it's 28th of February 2018. I have just heard that there are going to be some changes with a Japanese Victorial Army, that they're going to be split apart from Yucheng. By the time this video gets views later down the track, I'm sure a lot of information will come out about that, and you guys will know what's going on. But we were playing this game, you know, under the news that obviously the Haramaki Link team and missile launchers and various different parts of JSA might not be the same as they always were after the new changes come out. So I won't review that or talk about that yet. We'll wait for the actual thing to come out, and then I'll be talking about that in a future video. So it's a left for JSA in this game. I find that the mission quite often is likely to come down to the two objectives, which are here and here. Where you get a point for controlling each one, and like any other press the button scenario, you come in on the last turn, you take it back off your opponent, swing it back your way. There are two classifieds, not just one. Classifieds are easier to complete if you have the last turn, especially with capturing the HVT. And for the rest of the game, it can be relatively straightforward to just prevent your specialist and lieutenant from being isolated and immobilized. And if you have an engineer, you might be able to rescue them anyway. If you have last turn, it's not very easy if you don't have last turn. So that is my general thinking. I am running the post-human sniper as always, just taking a hidden deployment picture of him next to my post-human hacker in group 2. And the the Dazu Forward Observer is deploying up in front of this hollow echo signboard next to my net rod, and I'll point out his position a bit more clearly later. So let's have a look. I'm deploying first here, so we've got a Krakot SMG on the right hand flank, rolling up Dogged and Total Immunity. There's nothing here under where my head's located on the photo, so we'll skip that. There's a flashball spot here and two baggage bots here. Just trying to take advantage of some total cover. Here's the post-human hacker. We know that there is a post-human sniper standing up in hidden deployment where I've circled there. This is my Diva lieutenant, just with the sensor profile. First net rod landing there. The other net rod scattered off the table and didn't get to deploy. Okay, on the left-hand flank, you can't see him behind this flower bed here, but there's a Krakot with Red Fury rolling up Climbing Plus and extra speed. The other flashball spot on the flank, the Sofitec prone behind this little row of flower beds here, the planters. The Dakini TAC-bot with HMG, really important part of any vanilla list because you can add assisted fire. I've made the grave mistake of not deploying him close enough to my repeater though, so that's just bad deployment from me. And of course, trying out the beautiful post-human heavy infantry heavy rocket launcher. The theory behind this guy is that I want to just use him to cost my opponent a few crucial orders in a phase of the game where they need to try and get a lot of work done. So if he's moving out in his first turn with his HMG or whatever trying to shoot me, he's probably going to have to burn 2 or 3 orders, if not more, taking me out. That's going to blunt his attack. I'm not going to lose any orders because he's a post-human. I've got the post-human with other proxies elsewhere. Worst case scenario for him, he loses a face-to-face roll, gets hit by the heavy rocket launcher. I can even even use my guts check to just pull back along the crate here while I'm prone and just leaving myself out of sight. So that's the point of this guy. This is the first time for me playing Aleph without using Achilles, so you can afford this guy without having your Achilles in there. So there's positioning of the Krakot Renegade. Onto my opponent. Let's move this picture of my face over to here. So the Haramaki Link team, he's got his HVT bit down here, by the way. So his Haramaki, he's got Nico Oyama, who's his lieutenant up here. Then he's got a couple of other ones with Blitzens here. And there are two missile launchers. The first one's here, and the other one is behind the wall. We'll get a closer picture of that later. They're just taking care of these sight lanes, respectively, on either side of this large building. The hacker... assault hacker Aragoto bike, and Yojimbo you can see in the background there, but we'll move on to a bit of a clearer photo of that. So in the middle you can see this is the positioning of the other Haramaki in that Link team. You can also see Nico and the other guys, and they're basically positioned around here. So that's, I'm pretty sure you guys know where they are, and Yojimbo, of course, ready to move out with his Extreme Impetuous. On his right-hand side flank, he's taken a couple of little remotes. This one is the sensor bot here, and this is the flash pulse bot here. So the sensor bot is of quite significant importance to me. He's going to be my target this game. I'm going to be trying to put him into unconscious state just because he can survive a bit more. He's not removed from the table. He's got 2 levels of unconscious, and hopefully I can actually stun him and immobilize him. Since he's got no engineer, I can stun him and put him into a immobilized state while he's unconscious. I believe that's legal, and that will hopefully net me some bonus points if I can make that happen. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a good way to go. Now, this is not a JSA model. You're seeing a Pan-Oceania Squallow and a Silhouette 7 tag. My opponent forgot to bring his Oyuroi for this game, so he turned around and borrowed a tag from our local friend Jason, also known as the Admiral on the forums. You might have heard of him. So this will be proxying in for a Oyuroi. Sorry about that for the bat rep. Now, he has to go first, so he's just considering where to deploy the model. Initially, we thought, okay, he's going to deploy him here, but then we realized that he'd run in straight into the heavy rocket launcher post-human without getting cover. Also, if he did that, or if he even used this box for cover, the rocket launcher impact hit would actually take out his bot with the impact blast, so he didn't want to do that, so he's deploying over here. He's going to try and carefully move around the side there and try and engage the post-human from cover. So already, I really like the fact that that post-human is just causing so much disruption to my opponent's plans just by standing there, which is really a lot of fun. So Yojimbo, at the start of the game, moving out with Impetuous and dropping down some smoke, bringing on his Crazy Koalas with him. So smoke being landed next to this objective. You can see I've actually got, I didn't say that in my deployment, but I've got a Naga Forward Observer standing here, but it's prone, so it can't actually reach anything yet. The good thing about this deployment is that he's actually already within 8 inches of my opponent's HVT, so I don't have to even move this model or do anything through the entire game. It will allow me to net the HVT of my opponent and gain extra points. So here we go. He's just positioning his Squallow, or Oyuroi in this case, in the distance here to take on my post-human heavy rocket launcher, which is prone, by the way. This is a prone mark you can see here on top of the obstacle. So moves forward initially, fires some shots at me, managed to get 1 wound, despite the fact he's only a normal HMG. I'm armor 5 plus 3 for the cover. So that's 1 wound taken, and life goes on. As he continues to attack me, though, I managed to win one of the face-to-face rolls and actually strip a wound off him. So already this guy worth his weight in gold, given the extreme low points that he's at. My opponent eventually climbing up on the high ground here, so hitting me, able to shoot from a height advantage, denying me cover. So he's hitting me on 17s, I'm hitting him on a 16, he's got 4 dice, I've got 1 dice, and eventually he destroys the post-human, but not after a lot of annoying fiddling around with him. In the process, I also managed to clip one of his Crazy Koalas with the template, so that's one of the koalas down. Moving on after basically killing this this post-human here, so you can see the positioning there, he's off in the distance there. After this happens, he does manage to continue moving around, and then is able to take on, whoops, he's taken on the flashball spot through this little alleyway here. Fortunately for me, my flashball spot manages to save off the armor check, But the tag does eventually get to a point where he's able to shoot at the Krakot, and unfortunately renders the Krakot unconscious. So he does at least get that particular kill. Now my opponent is a bit too scared to leave out his tag in the middle of the table when it's my turn next, rightfully so. So he retreats all the way back to his side of the table, and unfortunately he's put his hand in the photo, so it's a blurry hand, but the Squallow does retreat back to this total cover position, like the coward that he is, but it is the right play. This is really what you should be doing if you're playing a tag like that in the first turn. Interestingly, moving out the sensor bot to this location, and is going to go into suppression fire a little bit later. So I don't really like that move from him, just because it gives me more opportunity to find some sort of model that is able to render it unconscious and then possibly hit it with a stun pistol. Yojimbo also moving back behind the central total cover building here, and he's spinning in order to also lock his Crazy Koala in place, which is a move that you can do if you're worried about losing the control of the koalas, just so that it will still act as a perimeter weapon and still go off even if you have lost Yojimbo. So, as I did in my previous hunting party game, we are doing the rather audacious move of dropping the Garuda deep into enemy lines right in front of their noses. I managed to find the perfect angle where he could deploy in just the right spot to avoid the line of sight of the Haramaki missile launchers, and still be out of range of the three models he's landing in, and not in the line of sight either. The tag is actually facing 180-degree line like that, but he's facing this way. So, although the model is turned around, he's just turning around because the gun would actually clip into the wall. So he's just putting the model in a different location, but he told me that he's facing towards my deployment zone. So I'm able to land here. The facing for the flashball spot is here, so it just bumps into the wall like that. Can't get anything out of it, and the sensor bot facing is like this. So where I am, I'm in the perfect spot. So put control jump up with the post-human hacker. Garuda lands, manages to roll the fizz test, passing it. After landing, though, I realized that as soon as I walk up here, I'm going to come into hacking range, so he's going to get his assault hacker out with his bite, which is not ideal. So that's a bit of a blunder by me. It's still worth doing, though, because as the Garuda moves in, firing the combi rifle, splitting my burst, actually hitting this guy and killing him. So sensor bot is down, doesn't manage to take out the flash pulse bot though, and luckily I managed to avoid being hacked this particular time around. When I wrote my list, I wrote my army list with my cell phone, right? With Army 6, and when you use Army 6, or at least on my phone, the phone app will tell you whether a model is light infantry or remote or heavy infantry or whatever, but that's only one kind of category. Units in this game are also split up into different kinds of categories, whether they're like light infantry or specially trained troops or elite, headquarters, or veteran. And when I wrote my list on the app, it didn't tell me whether the Garuda is actually an elite troop or not. And when you go and actually print it out from the website, it actually shows you whether it's one of those specialized troops in this mission where you get an adhesive launcher. And I thought that it might have been, but it turned out that it's not. I didn't bother to check on the website. So the Garuda does not actually have an adhesive launcher, and it does not actually come with a pistol. So the Garuda cannot actually be used to follow up and actually immobilize the sensor bot. So that was kind of stupid. That's my stupid fault, though. That's not the fault of the game or the fault of Aleph or anything like that. It's just I'm the only one to blame there. Still worth dropping in behind enemy lines, though, because actually taking out that model is still worth it. In the meantime, using a coordinated order to move out with some of my forces here. So the Dakini attack bot's moving over here so that he'll come in range of the repeater. The Sophitek is going to move out here to actually go and revive the Krakot. So some coordinated orders being used. At the same time, I'm moving the Garuda into close combat with the Flash Pulse bot on his side of the table. So as you can see, troops moving out here. The Garuda moves into base contact here, still doesn't get hacked, but still doesn't kill the sensor bot or the flash pulse bot either and gets stunned in the process. He can just leave the Garuda there for the rest of the game because I've got nothing to attack in close combat with except for electric pulse, and he's also got electric pulse. I could make a bare-fisted attack, but I'll be close combat 8, so that's not going to be happening. So a bit of a dumb position for the Garuda to be in, but what have you. So in better news, the Sophitek moves over and successfully revives the Krakot with Red Fury, which is a great result. That also picks up a point from classified objective experimental drug, because I've revived the model with a wounds value. Dakini TACbot now, with the help of assisted fire, moving over the dumpster here, and as I moved over the dumpster, it's also going to bump up my silhouette value so that I can see over this car, and Yojimbo's silhouette is just sticking out around here. I know you can't see it in the photo, but I am able to shoot from this point here at that point there, and actually shoot at Yojimbo with the Dakini TACbot. Really frustrating result though, me hitting on 14s, him lobbing the smoke in a 17, just rolls a crit to begin with, and Yojimbo is safe. So he's not going to get killed by my assisted fire shock HMG. Things get worse though, after I move the Krakot to safety up on top of this building so it doesn't get hit by the tag anymore. The Dakini moves around here and tries to shoot at the crazy koala which has been stuck into the ground. I need to do that because I want to move the Krakot out further and get line of sight to his tag. But after 2 rounds of shooting, I'm just completely whiffing my shots and not even killing the crazy koala, which was horribly annoying. Horribly annoying. So in Group 2, I've still got a few orders left. The post-human hacker moving around here and going prone here. The reason why I'm doing this is that I've got a post-human hidden deployment there. And if I reveal my post-human as an ARO, and then he decides to shoot at it with his Haramaki Link team, the splash damage of the missile will hit my post-human, which is not really what I want. So I'm preemptively moving this out of the way so that when I do reveal my post-human, I'll be in a much better position to shoot back against any Haramakis or tags that, that come down the fire lane. Getting desperate here, moving out with the Dakini. You can see my opponent leaning around here, eyes closed. I caught him at a bad moment. Just checking the line of sight, but we do indeed have line of sight to the tag. Firing the bullets with the HMG. The crazy koala goes off. I fail the armor save against the crazy koala and don't do any damage to the tag either. So at this stage of the game, dice roll's not really going very well for me all around, but that is okay. You've got to account for these things in infiNity. So there's the Sophatech, just using a coordinated order to come back behind the low ground here with prone and experimental drug achieved. Alright, opponent turn 2, JSA turn 2. So Yojimbo has to move towards the Garuda now, so he's magnetized back towards the back of his deployment zone, given that that's the closest model. Doesn't really do anything other than that with this move. In his order with the irregular order, he decides to move out to this spot here, and then throw smoke out towards where the objective is. He's doing that because he knows that I've got a post-human sniper. He's played against my left list before, so he knows that's coming. So what's happened is he's put the smoke covering, so this is the position where Yojimbo was. He's put the smoke out to cover this spot here, and he knows there's a fire lane along here with the post-human, so this is going to block off the fire lane for when the tag moves out here. And his plan is to move the tag in such a way that the pilot, which is a specialist, can dismount and actually press the button on the objective to capture it, which is exactly what he does. So, well played, well played. Now what he can do is come along the flank again. So he's moved out around here. Luckily, the Krakot was expecting this, so the Krakot has moved to the top of the building prone in safety. The Sophatech is safe behind this wall here, but it's now the flash pulse bot which is going to get shot by that HMG, and the flash pulse bot does go down. The next thing in the line of fire is the Sophatech. Luckily, thanks to NWI, it takes him about 3 orders or so to actually kill the Sophatech, if not 4. Coming around shooting at close range. My opponent was trying to use the flamethrower here, which I think is a mistake, because my chances of passing an armor save are probably not as good as my chances of passing a save against HMG once he wins the face-to-face roll at close range. I mean, I'm hitting him on like a 14 on 1 dice. He'd be hitting me close range on like 11s on 4 dice. So I think the HMG is probably the better way to go in these sort of spots, especially if I'm, you know, shooting back at him, not declaring a dodge. Actually, no, I got that wrong. Sorry. If I dodge, he definitely shouldn't use the flamethrower, but if I shoot back at him, there's a case for using the flamethrower. I still think that the HMG is probably better, though. Okay, so here he is here. So the tag is slowly inching his way around here. He wants to get to this spot here. So once he moves into this spot, he'll start to get line of sight to the 2 baggage spots, which are nice juicy orders, which he wants to kill. But we know that there's a post-human up here as well, a sniper. So as soon as he moves to the circle, this position I've circled here, he's going to get shot by the sniper. Now he does manage to kill the Sophatech, but when he comes in range here, he moves out, then comes back into cover again, and the sniper appears. So he started here, and he's just moved back and forward along this sort of a parallel line. So the sniper reveals and shoots at him. He decides to do the most audacious thing, which is just to split his burst at all of the baggage bots, one onto the sniper, one onto the soft-detect. And again, dice roll's going really, really well for him at this point. The sniper hits him, he passes both armor saves. His other dice rolls go into the other things and kill them. So dice really going very well for JSA at this point. It passes his guts check, or uses his guts check to come back further here where he's not actually in line of sight, and then goes into suppression fire, which I think is actually a mistake because, as you'll see from the next photo I'm going to show you, the post-human does have the ability to just walk out into line of sight and shoot him from beyond 24 inches, so suppression fire is the wrong thing to be doing here. This is a mistake. What you want to be doing is moving the tag to here and hanging out behind this particular total cover so that the post-human has a much harder job getting there, and it also gives the tag a better range against the post-human as well if you shoot back. So here it is, post-human starts at this position over here, moves over the wall here. He doesn't really care about losing cover in this particular point in the middle ground, but just wants to shoot at the tag in the distance and fires off at the tag. Tag again passes the armor saves, unbelievable, even though he has to like pass several of them, and the post-human just not having any impact at all. So the tag eventually gets behind total cover after some guts checks, after I spend all of my orders coming around the back here. So that's just not really going too well. But things finally pick up where my Krakot in desperation stands up, rakes at him with the Red Fury, even though the Red Fury is only damage 13, he's armor 7, and immediately fails 2 armor saves against the Red Fury and dies, because he's already taken a wound earlier in the game from the post-human heavy rocket launcher, heavy infantry. So, finally making a comeback, Krakot does seal the deal there. Now, we noticed that earlier in the game, the Garuda showed up and did put the sensor bot into unconscious state, and he's sitting there. We realized that if the Krakot stands up, and bear in mind he's got to carefully avoid this Haramaki missile launcher in the background, but luckily this piece of terrain is enough to do that, so long as he doesn't step over the wall. But what he can do is he can shoot his pistol at very long range. He's just within 24 inches here. So, blam, pistol, 2 shots, burst 2. -3 for cover, -6 for range. He's ballistic 11, so any hits on 2s, my opponent's making 2 BTS rolls against. So I'm blapping off with the pistol long range because even a single failed BTS save puts me up by 2 objective points because I've actually hunted down more specialists. Now what happens is I've got a couple of orders left in the turn. It fires off the pistol, does get a single hit through. My opponent passes both BTS checks, which was super annoying, but these things continue to happen. That's okay. Alright, my opponent's final turn, the Aragoto, moving forward with Impetuous, and when he starts actually spinning orders on him, he is able to use the repeater on the flashpulse spot on the other side of the table in the deployment zone to spotlight my Garuda in close combat, allowing him to complete the telemetry classified. So we are equal, we're up on classifieds. He then moves over here and he can see that I've got a Aleph, regular camo marker, prone on the building. Now, I'm bluffing him here and going, you sure you want to move it within 8 inches of that marker? You sure you want to do that? And my opponent's like, okay. The reason for my bluff there is that it's very likely that this is a Naga killer hacker, and he's just an assault hacker. So, in all likelihood, it's probably not a good idea to move within 8 inches because then out comes the Red Rum. He's trying to hit me with an Oblivion. So, the chances of him actually beating me in the face-to-face roll aren't wonderful. It's more likely that he'll just lose his guy than he is to hunt my specialist down, so to speak. So, really, if you do think it's a killer hack, you probably shouldn't be doing that. But he calls the bluff anyway, moves in, goes to collect the objective. I can't do anything because I'm not actually a hacker, I'm a forward observer. And he's able to pick up a second console here with the biker. So that was kind of annoying. Since this is his last turn, he's moving out with a link team just to position him in places where they're going to provide more arrows and make it harder for me to actually win the game in the final turn, as I'm planning to. He's also moving his bike to a different location here. He set up the link team on the bridge here, but this is his perspective. He's got the HVT here, which is in range of my Naga, but my HVT is over here. So he's just moving his bike to this position, so he's going to be in range of my HVT, so that we'll both be in range of each other's HVTs. That will further make life harder for me to win the game on classifiers. So you can see here he's just dismounting with this biker so that he's in range of my HVT, which is pictured there. I'm using the Combined Army one. And his hacker is just sitting quite sweetly there. in a position where it's going to be quite hard for me to kill him. Even with the Krakot that's going to come around here, the Krakot's just going to get hit by the entire Haramaki Link team. He's got Dogged and Total Immunity, but against that much shooting, he's probably just going to die with one arrow turn. Alright, so my opponent has set up quite well. He's in the lead, he's got a classified, he's blocked off the HVT scoring at the moment, and he's got 2 consoles, so he's winning 3 to 1 at the moment. So we'll see how we deal with this. The Krakot moving out with Impetuous. I've got nothing to lose by using the Impetuous order here. If I'm super lucky and manage to dodge these shots and have another order to spend on him, what I can do is move the Krakot to this point here, and then he'll be in line of sight of the Assault Hacker, which is behind this red box, and then I can either chest mine him to death, or submachine gun him to death, and that will allow me to pick up his HVT for free later on. But he's shooting me with 2 missile launchers, 2 contenders. The Krakot just dies immediately. The next plan is to finally bring out the Dazu, which has been waiting for the final turn. Dazu started here, first short skill over to here, second short skill moving over to a point where he's not yet in line of sight of the Haramaki missile launcher on the other side. So if we have a look at it, here is the Haramaki missile launcher. He's got a line of sight along this building here. So I'm just stopping right in front of that. So when I spend the next order, I'm going to have to move to here. He's going to discover me, then I'm going to go prone and move over to here, where I'll at least benefit from cover when we go again. Now, he has to discover me here. If he tries to delay, I keep moving. If he shoots, then he can't shoot, so that doesn't really work. So he does go for the discover, and does roll well enough to discover the TO model. So I end up in this particular location after I get discovered. So I've got one shot at this. The Dazu moves just slightly around the side of the objective, and luckily for me, the Haramaki misses with his shots because he's up against cover and TO camo, so that's fair enough. I roll a 15 for capping the objective. That's 1 shy of what I needed. We checked the results. Aleph have pretty high willpower, but this guy's still just willpower 14. It's the posthumans who are whip 15. But luckily, the missiles missed, so I get another go at it, and luckily passing it to flip the objective over. So he was lucky. He was unlucky to miss, but I was also unlucky to fail the scoring attempt with a whip 14 check. It all worked out, though. I did manage to flip it in the end. I do have a couple of orders left, so the Krakot has another go at plinking off this guy with his pistol, but he just completely misses again, so I still haven't actually picked up the scoring from the specialists. So we checked the scoreboard and realized that, okay, he's got one of the consoles, I've got one of the consoles. He's picked up one of the classifieds, I've picked up one of the classifieds. We're dead even on HVT, so it's a draw. So I was like, okay, cool, it's a draw. That's well-fought game. I could have done better. It's a draw. I had a chance to pick off the sensor bot with my Krakot pistol, and then I realized, hang on a sec, if I want to, there's a risk I can take with 3 orders left in Group 2, where I can move the post-human hacker. It's going to take me like 1 or 2 orders to get there, and I've got 1 or 2 orders to spend hacking the assault hacker. Now, he can respond with an Oblivion, or even just a Carbonite, because that's going to immobilize me and count me as being hunted down. If I attack him with a Gotcha, well, I'm rolling 2 dice, but if I succeed, then he's hunted down. So thinking about it, the hacker is whip 13 on his side, the assault hacking Arigoto, and he gets +3 if it's a Carbonite, so he's hitting on a 16 with 1 dice, whereas the posthuman is whip 15 with 2 dice. So if you're in the situation, do you take those odds? I think you do, because the posthuman also has a little bit of BTS, if I recall correctly, and the Arigoto doesn't, if I recall correctly. And when you're at 2 dice versus 1, having 1 lower, 1 less willpower is not really enough to warrant not doing that. So I ended up doing this, and I ended up taking that risk, even though it is a little bit of a risk. I think it does sort of favor you in the long run. And it worked. I actually managed to successfully hack him and win the game. So the Proxy Mark 1 hacker, according to my app for Army 6, says willpower 15 and BTS 3. So that does help a little bit in at least mitigating the risk by giving you a greater chance of passing that particular BTS roll if you do lose the face-to-face shootout, as it were. Just going to take a quick look just to remind myself whether Arigotos have any BTS. I'm pretty sure that they don't. Kizaraki doesn't, so I doubt that they do either. So that was it. Managed to win the game. Yep, 0 BTS for the Aragoto. So won the game by a margin of 2 points, 2 objective points. This list isn't particularly well designed for this particular mission. The Garuda doesn't have a stun pistol or whatever it is, so you're better off taking Ectoromoy or something that can actually do that. I like playing Aleph. It's quite fun to play Aleph with the posthumans instead of Achilles. But yeah, this mission, I still feel it's better for the player going second. As always, if you have a list specifically designed for crushing somebody with the Alpha Strike and they are forcing themselves to deploy everything first and, you know, give you the first turn, then of course you can win that way. I mean, if you totally wipe them out and basically put them into all but retreat and then just walk around, you know, immobilizing the corpses of their specialists, of course you can win that way. But I think, you know, you can also, as a good player, you can defend quite well, especially armies that have a lot of mines and crazy koalas and hidden deployment troops and jammers in the case of Hakislam, can really stave off those Alpha Strikes and then come in at the end of the game to win. Hope you guys enjoy this one, maybe learn a few things. Let me know what you think. We'll have some more bat reps soon, and hopefully with some other factions. We'll see you again shortly.